Warning: this video contains facts, evidence, and free speech. Viewer discretion is advised. This is the Kill Communism BitChute and YouTube channel. Today, we are going to discuss a case that was pivotal in creating the racially divisive environment that we're in today. It was also brought to my attention recently that a new documentary about the case was released, which was funded by Jay-Z no less, a former drug dealer and a rapper who promotes drug dealing and other nation-destroying vices. I'm not gonna watch it because there can't possibly be anything in it that I haven't already been exposed to. More than likely, it's just more of the same propaganda, so I'm not gonna bother. The Trayvon Martin case is important, for one, because it forced the media to show its true colors, but we'll get into that in a later part of this mini-series. So without further ado, let's cut to the chase. Since there are so many things about the Zimmerman case that are believed to be true, but which are actually false, Part 1 of this series will focus on the misconceptions surrounding the case that occurred prior to the altercation, specifically during the phone call. Misconception number 1: that the dispatcher told George Zimmerman not to exit his vehicle. If you have argued this case at all on web forums, or if you watched pundits on NPCNN or MSNPC or any of the various other NPC networks, you probably have come across the claim that the dispatcher, chanhe, told George Zimmerman not to get out of his vehicle. Well, I don't need to explain to you that that simply is not true. I'll just play the full-length non-emergency call for you. The call is about 4 minutes long, and so for the purposes of killing this myth, I'm not going to edit it to shorten the length, and I would advise you to listen to the entirety of it.
Sanford Police Department, lines being recorded, Sean.
Hey, we've had some break-ins in my neighborhood, and there's a real suspicious guy. It's Retrieve View Circle. The best address I can give you is 111 Retrieve View Circle. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. It's raining, and he's just walking around looking about.
Okay, and this guy, is he white, black, or Hispanic?
He looks black.
Did you see what he was wearing?
Yeah, a dark hoodie, like a gray hoodie, and either jeans or sweatpants and white tennis shoes. He's here now. He was just staring.
Oh, he's just walking around the area?
At all the houses.
Okay.
Now he's just staring at me.
Okay, and he said it's 1111 Retrieve View or 111?
That's the clubhouse.
That's the clubhouse. Do you know what he's near the clubhouse right now?
Yeah, now he's coming towards me.
Okay.
He's got his hand in his waistband. Yeah, he's a black male.
Okay. How old would you say he
He's
looks?
got a button on his shirt. Late teens.
Late teens, okay.
Something's wrong with him. Yeah. He's coming to check me out. He's got something in his hands. I don't know what his deal is.
Okay, just let me know if he does anything, okay?
Over here.
Yeah, we got him on the way. Just let me know if this guy does anything else.
Okay. These assholes, they always get away. Yeah. When you come to the clubhouse, you come straight in and make a left. Actually, you would go past the clubhouse.
Okay, it says on the left-hand side from the clubhouse?
No, you go in straight through the entrance, and then you make a left. Yeah, you go straight in, don't turn and make a left. Shit, he's running.
He's running? Which way is he running?
Down down towards the other entrance of the neighborhood.
Okay. Which entrance is that he's heading towards?
The back entrance. Fucking dogs.
Are you following him?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you to do that.
Okay.
Alright, sir, what is your name?
George. He ran.
Alright, George, what's your last name?
Zimmerman.
And George, what's the phone number you're calling from?
407 435 2400.
Alright, George, we do have him on the way. Do you want to meet with the officer when they get out there?
Yeah.
Alright, where are you going to meet with them at?
If they come in through the gate, tell them to go straight past the clubhouse and straight past the clubhouse and make a left. And then they go past the mailboxes. They'll see my truck.
Okay, what address are you parked in front of?
I don't know. It's a cut through, so I don't know the address.
Okay, do you live in the area?
Yeah.
What's your apartment number?
It's a home. It's 1950. Oh, crap. I don't want to give that out loud. I don't know where this kid is.
Okay, do you want to just meet with him right near the mailboxes then?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, George, I'll let him know to meet you with you out there, okay?
Actually, could you have him call me and I'll tell him where I'm at?
Okay, yeah, that's no problem.
You need my number? You got it.
Yeah, I got it. It's 407-435-2400.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, no problem. I'll let them know to call you when they're in the area.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
There, fiction dispelled. Nowhere in that call does Sean Nofke tell George Zimmerman not to exit his vehicle. That was a lie. Misconception number 2. That Sean Nofke ordered George Zimmerman not to follow Trayvon Martin. This is also not true. Technically, what Sean Nofke said literally was, "We don't need you to do that." But it wasn't a lawful order, as many have claimed. In fact, let's listen to the man himself explain what he meant by it. Here is the testimony of Sean Nofke.
Now that's where you suggest that you can't give a direct order.
That's right.
But certainly you can tell someone to stay in a house, right?
It's not that simple. You don't want to give direct orders to someone. You can make a suggestion for their safety.
If somebody is on the phone with you and there's gunfire outside and
Yes, sir.
cops are involved, and someone says, "I'm going to go out and check out what's going on," you're not going to order them. I know we can't use the word order.
Yes.
You're not going to tell them to stay inside?
I would also tell them, we don't need you to go outside. Just stay where you are.
Okay, so is that sort of just the way you have to say it so you avoid liability?
Yes, sir.
Fiction dispelled. Misconception number 3. George Zimmerman suspected Trayvon Martin because he was black. Another enduring myth is that George Zimmerman suspected Trayvon Martin only because he was black, when in actuality, if you listen to the call, you would see that he was not sure at first. There was a whole lot of talk about this being a case of racial profiling. Even if it was, there wouldn't have been anything wrong with it. Profiling is nothing more than pattern recognition. If a bunch of dudes in clown suits started robbing houses in your neighborhood, well, obviously, the next time you see a dude in a clown suit in your neighborhood, you're gonna wonder about him. Well, in this case, there were a lot of robberies occurring in Retreat View Circle, which was the Sanford, Florida neighborhood in which this occurred. These burglaries were committed primarily by young black males, and Trayvon, who did not live in this neighborhood and was only there after having been kicked out by his mother for fighting at school, was staying there with his father temporarily. So Trayvon was a stranger in this neighborhood, a young black male stranger no less, in a neighborhood plagued by burglaries committed by young black males who did not live in the community. Couple that with the fact that he was out, according to Zimmerman, walking around slowly in the pouring rain, not really in a hurry to get home. He, Zimmerman, deemed this strange, and so he called the non-emergency line and reported it. This was not a case of racial profiling. If race were the determining factor in whether one is considered suspicious, then a spate of crimes committed by young black males could end with an elderly black woman being a person of interest, right? After all, she is black. If your job was to profile based only on race, you would never find the culprit because the pool from which you're gathering suspects would be too wide. Every black person would be a possible suspect, whether he is a young black male or an unassuming 80-year-old black woman. That aside, let's listen to the contextual parts of the non-emergency audio again.
Okay, and this guy, is he white, black, or Hispanic?
He looks black.
So first, George Zimmerman says that the person he is observing looks black. Looks black. In other words, he isn't entirely sure at that point. Let's look at how dark it was that night. Here is an image so you can get an idea of just how difficult to see it was that night. It was about a minute or so later that George Zimmerman confirmed to the dispatcher, after getting a clearer look, that indeed the person he is observing is in fact black.
And he's a black male.
Fiction dispelled. Misconception number 4. That George Zimmerman continued to follow Trayvon Martin after the dispatcher told him not to. One of the most enduring misconceptions about the case is that George Zimmerman did, in fact, continue to follow Trayvon after being told not to. For one, that is not what the dispatcher told him, and no, it was never proven to be the case, not before the trial, not during the trial, and not after the trial. We'll get into this more in a later video, but for the purposes of this video, let's take another listen to the relevant portion of the non-emergency call.
Make a left. Shit, he's running.
He's running. Which way is he running?
Down towards the,
Here, we can clearly hear the door chime. This is the exact moment that Zimmerman exited his vehicle.
At the entrance of the neighborhood.
Okay, which entrance is that he's heading towards?
The back entrance.
Now we can hear him running. The door chiming and his rapid breathing caused by running is creating a lot of distortion. That's how we know he's outside his vehicle and pursuing Trayvon. But listen to what happens after the dispatcher says, "We don't need you to do that."
Are you following him?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you to do that.
Okay.
Alright, sir, what is your name?
George. He ran.
Alright, George, what's your last name?
Zimmerman.
And George, what's the phone number you're calling from?
407.
Zimmerman says, "Okay," and then his breathing slows and the distortion slowly stops, indicating that he's no longer running. To be fair, that does not mean that he stopped following Trayvon, but it does mean that he stopped running after him for the remainder of the call. Fiction dispelled. It is, in fact, not a fact that George Zimmerman continued to follow Trayvon after the dispatcher said he didn't need him to. Let's prod into this one a bit more. It can be argued that Zimmerman did not initially intend to chase Trayvon. Let's listen to Sean Nofke's testimony a bit more.
Based upon 6 years of doing this, do you think that if you ask somebody which way they're running, which way somebody else is running, that they may actually go find out?
The gentleman object, that's speculation. He's asking what someone else might think based on what he says.
I'm going to overrule because the question, I believe, was what does Mr. Knopf do?
Yeah, what would you think when saying that to someone? I'm wondering if you acknowledge, or if you think that when you say to somebody, which way is he running, that they may actually go check out which way he's running.
My intent was to get a location for the officers to look, but I can understand if someone interpreted it a different way. I can't control the way they interpret the words.
Nofke admits that with how he worded his plea, that he understands how someone, namely Zimmerman, might have gotten the impression that he wanted him to follow Trayvon to see which way he's going. He did, after all, ask him which way he's going. If the opposition is correct, then why did George Zimmerman call the police before going to confront and kill Trayvon Martin? This is the end of part 1. Be sure to follow Kill Communism at www.bitshoot.com/killcommunism and www.gab.ai/kill_communism. Thank you for watching.